Good
Yes.
evening. I would like to call the Rochester School Board, Rochester City Council Joint Building Committee meeting to order at 6 p.m. First item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able to do so, please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on our agenda is the approval of the July 12th, 2023 minutes.
So moved.
There being a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or edits? There being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3 is a site update.
So we'll start with Gordon Leedy for a site update. Gordon, if you want to jump right in.
Thank you very much. My name for the record is Gordon Leedy. I'm a landscape architect and certified planner with Ty and Bond, and we are the consulting engineers for the city on the project. And you all have seen this plan before. I'm going to have to get up and point at some things if that's okay. You all have seen this plan before. This is the old, I think it was 2011 wetland delineation, along with, there was topo that went along with that. You can see the next slide. We just recently received the updated survey that has topography, it has an updated wetland delineation line, and we have taken the plan that you all have seen previously and kind of adapted it to the existing conditions on this on the site. And what you'll see is, as you come into the entrance here, there's a loop road that goes around that we're going to use for queuing for parent pickup. This plan accommodates approximately 280 cars if you double stack them, so that is well within the program requirement. Buses will come in, and this is a kind of a one-way bus loop, and there is space there for 8 buses stacked all on the appropriate side of the road, adjacent to an ample sidewalk that will provide access to those. And we have a parking area here that this shows, I believe, 81 cars. So we may make some tweaks to this to get that number up a little bit, but you know, for special events, we have all of this parking around the site that would be available for parents and others to park if you need more than is in that formalized parking lot. And then we have a fire lane around the site, around the school that doubles as, you know, additional queuing space if we need it. And there is a loading area for deliveries to the school back in the back. We don't anticipate large trucks, but this we're doing our very best to accommodate any kind of truck that might show into the site. The one thing you'll notice is this decent-sized open space. That was a wetland that it contains a wetland that we didn't anticipate necessarily. It wasn't on the 2011 survey, but as you can see, we have accommodated the program perfectly well without it. This is going to be, the site basically slopes across from this is the north. That's south.
So this to the upper right.
It's from the upper right to the lower left, and there's about 20 feet of grade between here and here, as we had seen before. So the idea is that we want to kind of keep the school on the high side so that we're not cutting into that slope too much. It will involve some fill on the downhill side. There will be some fill associated with the play field, because we need to sort of flatten that out to accommodate the athletic field. There may be a little bit of cut up in this corner, because again, this wants to be flatter than sloped. And, yeah, that's about it. I mean, there were really no surprises at all with the wetlands in the central part of the site. It's a little bit different, but very similar to what we had seen before. We are trying to maintain a setback from all of those wetlands. The only impacts that we might have would be a crossing in this location and a crossing in this location for that loop road. We're trying very hard to keep that under 10,000 square feet so that we are in a minor permit scenario.
So we'll continue site update by kicking it over to Banwell to look inside the building, but before Mr. Lee sits down, were there any questions for?
Councilor Bowden?
No, thank you. That image of this building, does that depict the two-story building?
Yes.
It does, okay. The parking space, if I may.
Yeah.
So, parking space, you said 81 car lots, and how much staff parking will that,
Well, we had a program, initial program of 75 spaces, which I think was 60 staff and 15 guest spaces, something on that order.
That's about right, sounds about right.
Yeah.
Do we feel that's ample?
Yeah, and we have more than that, so yes, I would say that. And we may even have, like I said, I was working today on some tweaks to this. We may get that up around 100 spaces rather than 80. So that's certainly ample.
So just a quick question about the wetlands. I see you've indicated you've got 2 areas of wetlands to cross. Obviously, you're going to need to apply to the state for that. Do you anticipate that to go smoothly and them to approve it?
As smoothly as those things go, yes, absolutely. We have initiated that process, or we've initiated the kind of discovery of that process in terms of having go to environmental services, do a functions and values analysis. They have requested information from the National Heritage Bureau and all of that good stuff in anticipation of putting together a full application for a minor wetland impact.
One more follow. So this depicts the site layout and so forth. Do you have any plans to get into how we're going to handle water runoff from both the building
Oh,
and
yes,
impervious
absolutely.
services? You
Absolutely.
do?
That's all part of, yes. We're going to need to apply for and receive an alteration of terrain permit from New Hampshire DES, which is essentially a stormwater and erosion control permit, water quality permit. And we would anticipate having at least a partially surface facility down in this section. We haven't done any of the calcs yet, so we don't quite know how all of that is going to come together. Some of it may be some subsurface, but we have room underneath the play fields to do some storage if need be. So we're confident that we can make the stormwater work. The way that the stormwater needs to work is that we need to take into account all of the development, all of the impervious surface that we have on the site, and we are not allowed to increase the rate of flow off of the site in specific storm events. So that's what the permit is all about, and in addition to that, we have to take measures to treat and pre-treat the stormwater so that we have pollutant removals as well.
Yeah, and then Mr. Lynch had a question.
I appreciate that. Will we have cost estimates for
Yes,
these individual items?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Lynch?
You had mentioned elevation. Could you remind me again? You said that from the upper...
It's about 20 feet from here to here.
Okay. One more if I could. In the play area, square footage approximately? No, if you don't mind.
I don't know. It's probably about an acre.
Okay.
And the play field, the athletic field is more like an acre and a half.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Levy?
Is there any infringement on the wetlands on the front of the property? Because you said that was a surprise.
No. No, we were able to work around them and modify the site plan to accommodate those wetlands. And you know, the nice thing about it is that it actually puts some open space in the center of the site and provides much more, much more pleasing entrance to the site in terms of the visual appeal. There is some natural area, and I think that's part of why we all live in New Hampshire, isn't it?
Any other questions from the committee? All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll reintroduce Ms. Ingrid Nichols from Banwell Architects. She's the lead architect on this project, and we'll start looking inside the building.
Great. Thank you, David.
Stand on the side so hopefully you guys can see this. So this is the footprint that just was on the site plan. So the parking is here. The playground, the main playground, we would have a fenced-in area for a playground for all of the kindergarten rooms shown here at the end. And the main playground for all the other grades would just be beyond that. So the point is, they wouldn't be crossing any drives or parking lots or anything. The playground would all be contiguous to the building itself. So when you first enter the site, as Gordon showed, we have this nice landscape buffer that actually helps buffer the building from the neighbors. And we also will see the main entrance that is planned for right here. So these yellow spots are kind of the community spots, the cafeteria, the gym, the kitchen that would be used possibly after hours. And then this is kind of the education wing that has the blue spaces are all classrooms, the green are specials, and the light green are special ed and OT-PT. And then the gray color is kind of support services like bathrooms, storage, janitor closets. So as we come in, and this is our first iteration, this is going to change 100 more times, and we're looking for your input, the good, the bad, the ugly, on what you like, what you dislike. So we have this entrance, obviously it's a secure main entrance for the administration block here. We have the gym off this. We do have a performance platform or stage in between the cafeteria and the gym. PE storage in an office right here. The front office, workroom, a couple of offices here, the nurse, file storage, and a large conference room. The kitchen is here, and this is that long access for maintenance and deliveries, as well as the bus and fire loop. So we have the kitchen deliveries here, a receiving storage area for all of the janitorial supplies, and the mechanical, electrical, and another custodial storage. We put the music on the end because they tend to be a little noisier and you want a higher ceiling, so that space is at the very end of the building. This is art. We have 2 stairways that gets up to that second floor. The library or learning commons, computer lab, special ed area, kindergarten and first grade. In kindergarten and first grade have to be on the first floor. All the upper grades can be on the second floor. So that's why all of these core spaces that the first graders and sometimes the kindergartners use have to be down there. So that's why this is kind of the minimum square footage that we can do on the first floor. So the second floor, thank you. Again, we have an elevator. This has to be ADA accessible. We also have 2 stairs, so we have 2 means of egress. We also will have a sprinkled building due to the size and construction type of this building. The second, and these are up for grabs too, we're going to be meeting with the staff all through September when they're back in school to review this plan as well. But we have 2nd, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade with some toilet areas, electrical data, and some special ed and resource rooms upstairs as well. So it's a pretty compact, well positioned building. We like where it is on the site. We like the solar orientation. We like that we're using 2 stories. We don't think we need to go up 3 stories. It's not going to save us any square footage on that first floor. So that's where we're at to date. I'm looking for comments or questions.
Can you go back to the first floor? So I assume that the entrance that's been designed meets the standards for Homeland Security, the double doors, and then
Yes.
access to just the
Right
admin
here.
suite
Yes,
and not the whole building.
correct.
Okay. Mr. Lynch?
Has the staff seen this preliminary? So we're waiting.
You're the first, yeah.
I'd like to see their feedback.
Yes.
I don't know a lot. really a lot of teachers, so what they see would be more important.
Mr. Bowden?
Thank you. One question on the site. Someone had told me that the state requires 2 entrances to the site. Is that a consideration that
It
we
is.
are addressing?
Yes, so if you go back one, I'll just show you. A lot of schools, especially brand-new schools, have a gated fire truck access for the secondary egress, and it has to be separate from this main egress in case you have an emergency here so that they can get in. So it's planned for this area right here.
That meets the criteria.
Right. And we will be meeting with the DPW, the fire department, the police department, all of your town entities to kind of vet this site plan as well.
Thank you. So back to the main structure. The energy efficiency standards of the building, to what level are we bringing this? Are we exceeding standard building standards, or getting into, I believe it's LEEDs?
We haven't, yeah, or CHIPS, Collaborative for High Performance Schools. We haven't talked about that. Our base building and our base cost would include meeting the education or the energy standards. But if that is something the committee would like us to pursue, we've done several CHIPS schools. We actually did the first CHIPS school in New Hampshire. So we would, even if we don't go for the plaque, it's great to go through the whole checklist to see what we can do. Sure.
So should the committee decide to go that route, as part of your presentation, do you illustrate the payback time, the additional
Yes.
cost?
Yes.
Beautiful.
So the mechanical and electrical engineers, as well as we would develop that building model and test different, infiltration rates, different insulation thicknesses, different mechanical types, different lighting, the amount of windows, the roof surface area, what type of roof, what color roof.
Thank you.
Are you planning on solar on this building?
We are planning to have it solar ready, so that is something we definitely will be looking at as a possibility. So typically, we ask our structural engineer to make the structure of the roof capable of adding those. But it's typically a big upfront cost, so a lot of school districts have been doing that as a separate kind of line item as a possibility.
If I can also just speak to that, currently all of the solar fields in the school department are power purchase agreements. So the school department and the city owns none of the equipment. We've leased the space on the roof, we've given it to these people to put their panels in with their inverters, and we've agreed to buy from them all the power that they can make up there. The beauty of that is if something breaks, they come and fix it. And they monitor their own production because they want to sell us that electricity at a rate lower than the historic increases for Eversource. So we would look, if we were going to put solar on this, when that time comes, we would look to probably do a similar sort of a.
Are you looking at the same company that did like DPW facility, or?
I don't know who did DPW facilities.
Revision.
Pardon me?
Revision Energy.
Revision Energy, no, we've, ours was Sunrays Investments, but they actually got sold a few times. And the other part of the power purchase agreements is they were heavily dependent on federal tax credits that people wanted to invest in these solar fields because they could get a federal tax credit that made it a really good investment. Those went away, so we're hoping to see some return on that people will start investing in that investment grade solar again.
I think we want to look at that very seriously to put solar on. It's really paying off.
While we're on the topic, I'm sorry to interrupt, while we're on the topic of renewables, I mean, I can't wait to meet our MEP design team because I want to talk a lot about ground source and see what we can do with that for heating the building.
Yeah. Mr. Hammond, I couldn't agree with you more. We actually used it quite a bit, even as tutorials in the schools, kids get involved with the building made. There's shows up in East Rochester on the screen, like, hey, we made this much power today, and it's been a very cool thing to do. And I think the way that everything is worked out is really proven to be a benefit for the district as a cost saving and electric consumption and everything else. So I couldn't agree with you more, but as we go a little further in the budget, we'll see what the budget looks like, and if we have to do it after, we'll like the purchase power plan, we might have to look at those options. But I agree with you, as long as it's ready for it, I think it's applicable.
Did we pay for it, or is it we didn't pay for the installation, but we have the option to pay for DPW, am I right? So,
Again, 7-year buyout.
it's a 6-year.
Yeah, something like that. Okay.
Yeah,
Hey, this is,
Mr. Kelly.
I don't know if it's Kyle, Dave, or you, Ingrid. I'm just trying to still get a hold of this cost of the school is about 33 million. It looked like the bonds we're supposed to give about 20 million. Why we only get 15.3 when this is such a compact square footage? Where's the loss of, you know, the 4.7 loss in this design?
In terms of the state aid?
Yeah, the state aids. I mean, I talked to,
Oh,
yeah.
we'd have to ask
I don't-
Amy Clark here too. We actually, I think, did very well because you're a city that gets a higher percentage than a lot of other towns and cities in the state. And they try to max out the amount that they give, you know. So they have all these rules and regulations and calculations, so we can send you the backup. But it's a great question. Dave and Kyle did a great job, and you know, we have a good number of students for our school, so.
The simple answer to it, Mr. Mayor, is that what you and I would say is the cost of construction is not what the DOE says the cost of construction. They look at the whole project and they say this much of it is allowable construction cost. And then they have owner's soft costs and engineer things that they won't pay for and things that they will pay for. So when you tease those two things apart, that's where you end up with a number. And it's really intricate. The
Yeah.
submittal was literally hundreds of pages.
I'd like to chime in
Please.
briefly.
We're a team.
I'm Brad Prescott from Badwell Architects. I'm one of your project managers. I assisted with some of the application, and the guidelines for the Department of Education for their state aid was very dated. They actually are throwing them out because they're so dated, and they're revising them right now. But one of the antiquated portions of that, and they'd be the first to recognize it, is that they were basing their number of square feet per student on some old curriculum criteria. So they weren't providing aid for really essential educational spaces over and above what it used to be, I mean, decades ago, really, in terms of how we used to educate our children. So the number of square feet per student that they were willing to fund, it was quite low. And they're changing all of that now, but we're under that old application.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
Amy Clark from the DOE did come to present to the building committee. It's on one of our building committee meetings, so what I'll do is I'll share the link with the JBC so you can see her presentation to the committee.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Are you guys excited?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good poker faces.
Great. Well, we are going to meet with the staff. We have 3 Thursdays in September. We're going to host a Zoom so that if they can't make one, they can get to another one. And I believe, Kyle, it's staff all throughout the district, or is it just elementary, or?
We're going to take anyone that wants to participate. Yep.
Yeah. So that will be very fruitful. And even, I think we should, you know, go out to the facility staff and meet with them. I know one of the public speakers had talked about the most recent school you built and some lessons learned. So we don't want to forget those, and just keep going.
I had one more question. I noticed with the bathrooms, were there any single stall bathrooms for
Yes.
faculty?
Faculty and unisex and, yes, family.
I didn't see those.
And special education.
Right.
I saw janitor closet between 2 bathrooms. I didn't see
Yes.
a single stall.
There's, I think, T's there.
Yeah, and right below the nurse, you'll see 2
Yes.
small letter T's, and again, over by special ed, there's
These
letter
are 2
T's. Across from
T's
art,
toilet.
there's another one.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
This one,
Oh,
yeah.
it's more for Mr. Leedy. On the buffer for the Beauvais and Ida, what are you thinking of put, it looks like it's green bushes?
Well, we haven't really designed the landscaping at this point.
Okay.
There are a number of ways we can provide buffers. I would say that in front by, on the Salmon Falls roadside, we have an ample natural buffer.
Right.
On the sides of the site, we may need to think about some fencing or other kind of ways, because we are constrained with how much space we have. Especially with, my preference would be to maintain existing vegetation if that's something that looks decent. But, to the degree we might have grading in those areas, we may have to take trees down. So we'll be making a proposal to provide adequate buffers to abutters.
Thank you.
And I would add that any new trees, what my department usually would do is reach out to the University of New Hampshire Cooperative Extension, and they have endless information on native species and what kind of trees are best for this area.
Yeah, I think our city planning
As do
department
I.
has like a list of 20 trees.
Yeah, and they got a list
Pick
of 40 you
from.
shouldn't use,
Yeah,
right?
and my approach to landscaping is to utilize native materials or native, improved natives, so-called. There's a lot of different kinds of red maples, for example, some of which are more disease resistant than the strict natives. But from shrubs and trees on down to grasses and so forth, I am not a big fan of, I'm a fan of lawn areas where you need them, play fields and so forth, but I'm a real advocate for native landscaping.
Okay, thank you.
And aren't there types of vegetation that help with water as well?
Yes, the short answer is yes, but the engineers don't rely on that because there's limited data, right? So you'll do a calculation of measures that they have proven data on, so that, and engineers being engineers, they will apply a factor of safety. And so, because we want to be
I
sure.
wouldn't suggest that you plant a bush and rely on it.
Yeah, I understand, but that's one of the principal differences between landscape architects and engineers. They want to have it proved.
If we're going to plant some things, let's plant some things that would.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to thank Gordon for not going through all the Latin names of all the plants. He'll do that job.
All right.
Great. Ready to move on to the next item on the
think so.
agenda? Next item is owner's representative report.
So I'm happy to introduce to the joint building committee, after your deliberation, we've contracted the services of Mr. Gordon Bristol from Gordon Bristol Consulting, and he's been on the team for
2-3 weeks now.
2 weeks now, and he calls me every day with something, sometimes a couple times a day. He's definitely hit the streets running on this, and I'll kick it over to him for his update.
Thank you, and again, apologies to the group over here that has a little bit of my back, but I'm again Gordon Bristol. I want to thank you all for allowing me to serve you here on this capacity and for this wonderful school project. One of the things that we're going to come out of the job here, right from the starting gate going, is we have to get our budget under control as far as what do we have to spend for construction versus owner fit-up things. So the things that I've been doing in the last 30 days have been working on getting Banwell's contract finalized, which you're going to have a presentation in a little bit on, and also getting Harvey's contract finalized. So those two are ready to be presented to with recommendations. And then what the next 30 to 60 days will be to find out what are those items that we are going to buy on the school side and what items are going to be part of construction. And an example of that would be, for example, in a science room, the table's part of what Harvey will be providing, or are they something that the school is going to be providing? And then from that, we decipher it down and find out what the actual amount is left for the construction part of the project. And we'll be doing that so that when we do our guaranteed maximum price with Harvey, we will have plenty of money. One thing that we do know in all of these projects are the two things. They have to be on time and on budget. And that's what the whole mantra of this entire construction team is going to be. So we start out of the box with it that way. So,
Under budget.
Under budget, yes. Thank you. What we do is we help you at the end that if you are significantly under budget, you decide, we will have some alternatives for you that you might want to spend up, or you might decide to have it go back to the taxpayers. That's your call at that point. So you'll hear a lot more from me going forward. So tonight was just an introduction, but again, thank you for the opportunity.
Item 5 is contract execution.
Sorry.
So we're getting hard copies of contracts right now to pass out. We don't need all of them signed, but just wanted to give you a chance to review them. And sorry they didn't go out in the package, they're actually password protected documents, so we couldn't share them out that way. But as you heard Mr. Bristol say, we got contracts from Harvey Construction, and Mr. Bristol reviewed all of those contracts with me and with Harvey Construction. He went back to them several times to get everything kind of hammered out that met what they proposed in the bid process, what they promised they would do. We've got that ready to sign after you guys have a chance to look at it. And the same thing with Banwell's contract for the whole project. Banwell's been working this on a kind of a T&M basis up until now. We haven't really executed the full contract for this project. So those two contracts have been reviewed by the owner's representative, by myself. We'll put them before you tonight, hopefully with a recommendation to go ahead and execute those two contracts. And we'll have them for you shortly.
This one you have to take us, Sarah.
Yeah. Sure. You need to apologize. Yeah. So, thank you, sir. Only one.
One's enough.
Thank you.
You already know me.
And, Madam Chair, if you wish, I recognize that the committee's only giving these right now tonight. So if you want to take we can execute this next month. If you want to say to people, take it home, reach out, communicate with me. If you have any questions, we can get them answered. You have some time to review it before asking for your approval to sign it. That would be fine as well. So whatever you choose.
What's the will of the committee? Would you like to have the time to go over both documents for next month?
Yes, please.
Mr. Lynch?
I was just going to make a motion to push it to the next meeting.
There's been a motion to push it to the next month's meeting. Is there a second? There being a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would like to make a motion to adjust the order of our agenda and move public comment up before other. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So next item on our agenda is public comment. If there's anyone from the public wishing to address the Joint Building Committee, please step forward, state your name, address, and limit your comment to 5 minutes.
Ray Wayman, 55 Ida Circle. Don't take my time while I write these.
Yeah, these are all the same. I was trying to give you them after we go.
Thanks, because you guys are doing public comment.
So, we have a bad idea going to a worse idea. Congratulations to Banwell and Ty and Bond. You've stuck a 15-pound pig in a 5-pound bag. The unknown wetlands constricts your space even more. At what point do we just say, you know, this piece of parcel just isn't gonna work? Instead of trying to keep shoving stuff in there and rearranging and making it smaller and filling stuff in and compromising and just, you know, it doesn't work. Let's find another piece of land. We're gonna be stuck with this thing for 100 years. You know, I appreciate, I mean, you guys are magicians, really. Congratulations, you know? You should go to Vegas Strip or something like that to perform your magic. But, I mean, we're just making this idea, it's just a bad idea. A bad location, we're shoving it on bad land. There's unknown, you're building, you're gonna find unknown stuff, I'm telling you that right now. More money, more money, more money. Guaranteed costs, but, you know, we're gonna have a half-built school, really, for 100 years, the taxpayers. We're all gonna be dead. Our you know, grandchildren are stuff gonna say, man, why did they build this school here? This is a bad idea. But regardless, listen, we, the people that live over here, we like the trees that are there now. I can only really speak for myself. It seems like maybe I might be the only one that cares, I don't know. But I live there and I'm affected by this. Perhaps we could have a meeting with the people that are affected by this specifically, and maybe if you answer some, you know, I know we can come to these meetings, we can come to the joint forum, but hey, anybody can come to those meetings from the city. We abut this property, we're affected every day, right? I mean, I like the idea of a school, fantastic, build it, fantastic. You know, I know we need a new school, the other ones are crumbling, we had to unfortunately close the Nancy Loud School. I get it, we want our kids to be safe. But I don't think this meets the definition. It's a long, long problem. The other thing I will say is, can you assure the residences that live over here that this is only going to be a fire lane access? Gated, nobody can go through except for emergency vehicles. We'd like to hear that, so that we know that you know, we're not going to have buses and cars and, you know, everything traipsing through our neighborhood 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We like our neighborhood, we like where we live, we like the natural, that's all behind it, the wetlands behind me, never will be built on. It's perfect for walking around, seeing the animals, doing those kinds of things. You know, it's perfect. We don't want a bunch of traffic coming around and destroying our peacefulness. So if we can get at least that guaranteed, and maybe some neighborhood improvements, maybe, you know, we wouldn't resist so much, and maybe, I guess one person is just complaining though, right? I can't get all my neighbors together to, you know how that works. But I'm trying to advocate for our neighborhood and so that we know what's going on each step of the way, and we can keep our quality of life. So let's work together on what you need, what we need, and then we'll be happier. Let's see, let's put it that way. Can we do that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public wishing to address the committee?
Good evening. My name is Christine Schmid, and I live at 6 Harmony Way in East Rochester. I have no idea if you guys have made plans on what exactly is going to be happening to the Nancy Loud School, and the field, and the pool, and, you know, the playground. So has any kind of decision been made on that? No. Will there be future meetings to discuss what's going to be going on with that? And we'll be notified of that? I mean, I'm sure the building has to be torn down. I look at it every day across the field. I just want to know what's going to happen after they tear it down.
So the pool and the field are city properties
So
separate
that
from the
probably will
school?
stay?
And the school, the future of the school is not decided at
Okay.
this point.
All right.
It could be renovated. The question is the dollar amount that would have to renovate it worth what you would get? There's,
Right.
you know, there's people that
Completely
love historical
understand that.
preservation would really want to do that. And there's other people that wouldn't want to support that financially. So
Okay.
that's a discussion to be had at the city level after we make sure the kids are safe.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Is Is there anyone else from the public wishing to address the committee?
That's okay.
Hi, Mark Perry of 759 Cinnamon Falls Road, there's a property right there in the corner of that. I'm not surprised by finding out that you guys found more wetlands up front. It's no surprise to me. The question I have, we know that the land slopes from basically the northern corner down towards the southern corner by about 20 feet. You have wetlands up above where you're going to put an athletic field. How can you have that be that wet that's considered wetland, but you think that this athletic field isn't going to be, even if it's not wetlands, but you're going to have major dampness and, you know, kids can't play in a muddy field. We all know that. And what is the trickle down of that along this roadway that's going to be bordering my property? I would assume that the roadway would have some amount of drainage built into it. But obviously, if the land is sloping in this direction, you're not going to drain the water uphill. I'm glad to see that the wetlands up front are being acknowledged, because I felt as though I come up here and I speak and I say, I look at this piece of property every day. These torrential downpours we had this past weekend, guess what? I have water running off of that property onto mine. And so when then you tell me that, well, due to the standards of how they treat the rainwater coming off, is it can't exceed the current. Well, you already have a problem coming off the property. You now not, oh, well, this guy's already dealing with X amount of gallons of water per storm. We can continue to run that off on his property because it's already pre-existing for you buying it. You know, that's, when you use that verbiage, oh, it has to meet whatever it is right now. That's a fear on my end because I'm dealing with major water issues off of your property. And another thing that I have is right about here is a telephone pole in the middle of my backyard that goes to feed this abandoned mobile home. The telephone pole that feeds is condemned, has been since I moved in. The lines are sagging. The lines are sagging in my backyard now. My understanding is that when Fairpoint owned the power poles, they were the company in the area, there's a pole directly in front of my house that they were going to move the power so it's out of my backyard. But then it got sold, of course, to Consolidated, and that all went away. But yeah, so you have this telephone pole that goes to feed your property right now that I would like to see gone at some point or another, because I'm certainly not going to need to have a telephone pole in the middle of my backyard. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public wishing to address the committee? There being none, I'll close public comment. Next item is other. Does anyone have anything for other?
So I have one other, just you guys are gonna look at me as the guy who keeps giving me homework, but this is a list of, this is a draft list of questions from the last JBC meeting. And we've been talking about compiling a list of frequently asked questions and putting them on the website. And it's occurred to me that frequent is a rather subjective term. I don't know how to define what's a frequently asked question. It seems from where I stand that really there's two questions, that there's two things that keep coming up, right? It's the road and it's the water. And I mean, that's really the essence of every single one of these questions. So what I wanted to do is give you folks that list, and
let's take some time to digest it, and maybe we can work together to decide what questions and how do we want to package that, so we can come up with something that we can then link to the school and the city website, so people will have those answers in an easily accessible place.
Mr. Bowden?
Well, thank you. One of the questions on here is easy answer right away, quick. The Franklin Street property is under agreement at this point, just for reference, as I went by it today.
Any comments? Okay, we do have a non-public this evening, so I'd like to call a non-public under RSA 91A3 2D.
Second?
Was the public, the intention to enter non-public notice 24 hours in advance?
No, but we can call a non-public.
So for school board, rules of order, we can call it non-public during the meeting.
According to RSA 91A, my interpretation of it is that any non-public, a meeting for non-public must be noticed 24 hours in advance. I may have misinterpreted that.
Yeah,
Just,
we confer with our attorney part.
yeah. Thank you.
All right.
That's an answer.
Do we need a roll call?
Yeah.
Okay, so,